So this is my colleague Jonathan Rosa's book that is titled Looking Like a Language, Sounding Like a Race. And what Jonathan claims is that often when we see a brown-skinned child, before we heard him or her open their mouth, we've already decided that their language is going to be good or bad language. Right? So that's what he means, that we have racialized ideologies of learning. So a lot of these scholars are engaged in the study of these intersections of language and race and social class, and they point out that, for example, the bilingualism of Princess Charlotte is always seen as wonderful. Isn't it wonderful that Princess Charlotte, right, is such a bilingual child? I think she has a governess that speaks to her in one language or whatever, but her multilingualism is really valued, right? On the other hand, low-income immigrant origin students from racialized backgrounds are always framed as English learners who are seen as a problem in our public schools. So, what we know, that the other thing that colors the way that we think about what we do as language teachers is our understanding of bilingualism, right? So what on earth is bilingualism? And this is problematic because bilingualism has been used in so many different ways that it has become virtually meaningless, right? Who knows what bilingual means, right? Sometimes people will say, in this school, Guadalupe, when I go to schools, they say, the problem is our bilingual students. And they're really using bilingual as a euphemism for Latino, right? They really don't mean bilingual. If they were bilingual, we wouldn't have a problem, right? But the point is, they may be still language learners, and that may cause a number of challenges. But in the popular mind, bilinguals are two educated monolingual native speakers in one person, or this two-headed monster, that are persons who have perfect control of two language systems, who can pass undetected among monolinguals of each of their languages, who can translate easily between their two languages, and who can carry out the same functions identically in each of their languages. And in fact, those of you, and I know there are many of you sitting here listening to me, who are bilingual, okay? And I define bilingualism or bilinguals as those individuals who use two languages in their everyday lives. You use two languages in your everyday lives, and half the people you speak to in one language and maybe half in another, and some you speak and you use both, and typically you have developed relationships in a particular language. I, for example, could never speak in English to my mother. It felt odd, right? I had always spoken to her in Spanish, and when I married my husband, and my husband who is monolingual, and my mother did speak English, and we would speak in front of my husband in English, and after the conversation I would say, "Did you really mean that?" Because I couldn't read her signals when she spoke in English. I knew all of her signals, the nuances, when she chose a word or didn't choose a word in Spanish. So part of, as I say, languages are lived, right? And so we use languages with different people in our lives, and they're not the same. With one person, we may feel more comfortable speaking in one language or in another. So in the educational discourse, however, there's a number of these perspectives of this two-headed monster expectation. So people talk about things like real bilinguals. He's not a real bilingual. He's not a true bilingual. He's not a balanced bilingual. And most of the kids, they're saying, these are unbalanced bilinguals, They're really not the right bilinguals. They're not the true bilinguals. They're not the real bilinguals, right? So they're flawed bilinguals, right? Whatever that mentality is about the two-headed monster, okay, the idea is, and typically those individuals, okay, who make those judgments may be monolinguals, right? But they have a very good understanding, or they think they do, of what bilinguals are and are not. So our ideologies about bilingualism will really color what we do in language classrooms. So here's what we know. Over more than 4 decades, the scholarship on bilingualism has established that bilinguals are specific speaker-hearers. They're very unique. They're not two monolinguals in one. Bilinguals use their multiple linguistic repertoires in a variety of ways in order to meet their communicative needs. And bilinguals do not normally have the same levels of speaking proficiency in all of their language modalities, speaking, listening, reading, and writing in each of their languages. So, for example, if you are asked to talk about a particular topic, okay, in one of your languages that you normally haven't planned or haven't used for that topic, you'll find yourself struggling. As one of my students said when I was encouraging her to express herself in Spanish about a particular topic, she responded in Spanish, "No lo tengo pensado en español." I haven't thought that through in Spanish, right? And we use languages differently for different languages. So just to keep in mind that bilingualism is not always what the popular press would tell us, or the idealization of that. So if we're going to compare bilinguals, we should compare them only to other bilinguals and not to monolinguals, right? Because we cannot pass undetected as monolinguals most of the time, those of us who are bilingual. The other language always shows through. Se transparenta la otra lengua, right? We give ourselves away in ways that we didn't even know that were there inadvertently, because it's fine. If you're a monolingual, in some ways I'm sometimes envious of monolinguals. No, not really. But when you have a monolingual, there's no other system that can show through momentarily, right? But if you're bilingual, at any given moment, if you're just not watching it, you can say something like, "I had fish last night." And then everybody laughs, and you get so embarrassed, because most of the time you control it. But at that moment you were upset, you were in a hurry, and you didn't control it, right? That will never happen to a monolingual. They may have other slips of the tongue, but they won't be a slip of the tongue, in particular, drawing from one system into the other.